As it stands right now, you guys have been hearing about the deportation that is happening in US. How Trump is deporting illegal immigrants living in the US, and South Africa is also part of those that are being deported. Not only that, Trump has halted the supply of HIV/AIDS to South Africa. Let's hear what Ramaphosa have to say about this.
The world is baffled about what has happened, about the announcements. We have been fighting the scourge of HIV/AIDS, TB, and malaria together for more than 20 years as a global community, and depending very much also on global funding. But on the South African side, as you know, we are running the world's biggest HIV counseling and testing campaign. At 5.5 million people are on ARVs. No other country comes anywhere near that. The total amount spent in this campaign is 44.4 billion rand. And PEPFAR contributes 17% of it. The rest is mostly our own fiscus and some other funders like Global Fund. Now, where are we going to be affected? PEPFAR has got a presence and is helping us in 27 districts out of the 52 districts of South Africa. These are the 27 most affected districts in the country. And so the district that will be affected will be 5 in the Eastern Cape, 2 in the Free State, 4 in Gauteng, 7 in KwaZulu-Natal. You'll understand why, because KwaZulu-Natal is the most affected province, 2 in Limpopo, 3 in Mpumalanga, 3 in Northwest, and the Cape Metro in the Western Cape. Now, I got late here, ST, because we're still having meetings about this to try and compile to find out exactly how much is the weight of the problem on our shoulders. We had arranged a meeting with the Minister of Finance, which was scheduled for 1 o'clock. Unfortunately, it was postponed. But I must also add, most of the people who are funded from PEPFAR are the ones who told us that they've been written letters to stop because of the review. We as a government, whether DERCO, we checked with them, or Health, or Treasury, where the monies go, we have not as yet received any letter whatsoever. We hear from the clinics, especially vets, where most of the clinics are run under vets. So that's where we are. We will compile and finalize the matter. We'll meet with Treasury. So the information I'm giving you is a stopgap information in the meantime. Thank you very much. The total number of people is 271,000 people. 271,606 to be exact. Those are the people on the ground every day who are fighting HIV and AIDS. Now, out of that number, 256,452 are funded by us as South Africa. And I want to repeat the numbers because it's very important to understand. We have got an army of 271,000 people, 606 on the ground in the 27 districts fighting HIV and AIDS. 256,452 are funded by us as South Africa from our own fiscus. That leaves us with 15,145 people. Those are the ones who will be affected by whatever withdrawal is there. Now, how is the funding conducted? 76% of the funding is from South Africa. 76% of the funding. 74% by the government, fiscus, and 2% by the private sector. That includes medical aid. All the medical aids in the country are contributing 2% to the fight against HIV/AIDS. Otherwise, the rest is government. Now, obviously, as you can see, that leaves us with a gap. And that gap is filled by Global Fund, which gives 7%, and PEPFAR, which gives 17%. So when you add Global Fund and the government of South Africa, or the South African either government and private sector, when you add them, you realize that is 83%. So PEPFAR remain with the 17%. That's where our problems are. Now, we are buying ARVs on our own with 10% from Global Fund, which is not affected by this. I'm sure you are aware. Global Fund is an international organization in Geneva. We are buying on our own. So our biggest problem will be the salaries and the operational costs of those people that I've just mentioned. That's what we are trying to look at.
We have depended on US aid for over 60 years, and the moment the owners of the money say, let's take a 90-day pause so that I audit where my money is going, suddenly the whole country goes into a frenzy. And this should be a moment of reflection for Uganda and the African continent in general. We have been asking for a very long time to be liberated from colonialism, neo-colonialism, and now that the opportunity presents itself, for some reason, we are complaining. Because let's get something straight. Often the money given to us in foreign aid is lost to corruption, misuse, depleted and overrated salaries to particular individuals, or sometimes we lose billions of money that are unaccounted for. So it only makes sense that the donor is asking for an edit, and if that means pausing the amount of money coming in, they should. And I do understand the implications of this pause because so many heavily funded healthcare projects run on US aid, but that should be a moment of reflection. This is just a 90-day pause. What would happen if the United States just said, we're not giving you money anymore? And within their rights, they can't do that because it is their money. It's high time Uganda and the African continent got themselves together and actually started looking for systems that are sustainable and not always depend on foreign aid, because we are struggling with debt. On top of that, we have constant aid, which doesn't necessarily help us to have a more independent system. Instead of writing paragraphs of why this is a bad move, we should essentially realize that, oh, we're actually in a bad situation and we cannot always depend on aid because it can go any day. African nations should wake up. Uganda should wake up because...
So Trump just put pause on aid in Africa. And I must say there are some people who are seriously affected. People who are relying on this aid for medication, for food and the likes. And my heart really goes out to them. However, guys, we are crying about ARVs right now and other medication and food right now. But we can't even stand on our own 2 feet with regards to things such as ARVs. I think this is an opportunity for us as Africans to actually take our positions, right, and put that begging bowl away and start finding our own solutions, because we can't, guys. We can't be saying and crying about ARVs, basic medication, and saying that we need you, then that's how we end up being manipulated. So it's quite sad that things have come to this. However, we need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet as Africans. Man, we've got all these resources, we've got all these things, but we still need to beg for ARVs. We still need to beg for medication. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. But guys, let me know what you think. And again, my heart goes out to those affected.
Guys, this is the worst thing to do to Africa, and this is something Africa should learn. Like, this is a lesson to all African countries that we should be able to stand up for ourselves and have these things for ourselves. We should take our healthcare system very serious. We should prioritize it, because what happens if one day the most important thing that we Africans need, the US decide to stop giving it to us? But this is the most wicked act from Donald Trump, knowing fully well that these HIV patients, they survive on these medications. Why should he stop giving Africa these medications? If Africa decide with one mind and say, okay, so Africa said, I'm not going to supply gold to you anymore. Nigeria said, I'm not going to supply crude oil to you anymore. And some other countries like Ghana said, I'm not going to supply cocoa to you in America anymore. Just see how it's going to be. But African leaders, I don't know the problem. And this thing is affecting we, the citizens of the country. Imagine patients with HIV. How are they going to survive? And the high rates of HIV, they have a lot in Nigeria, they have a lot in South Africa, like the patients are there. My heart goes out to them this period because they are going through a lot. Please like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about this?